when you hear about apathy, most people are like, oh my God, with all of the stuff that's going on in the world right now, the last thing we need, right, is people who talk about not caring. Because we obviously feel like we're in a state of people who just don't care. But it is my intention this evening to broaden our perspective of a natural human capacity to feel apathy. And instead of it being our enemy, I want to present it to us and how it can be our armor in a time where not just a society that or the timing that we're in right now, but in systems that are extremely exploitative and systems that are abusive and systems that don't treat us or dehumanize us and don't treat us as the creative, divine human beings that we are. And so this presentation, I titled it as Apathy as Armor. And she already introduced me, so there's no need to continue going on further from that. So I'm going to go over, but I do want to let you guys know a little bit about me. And I'm going to be 100% transparent. This is probably one of the only engagements that I kept within the past 5 months, because 5 months ago, my beautiful mother passed away suddenly. 3 months after that, my stepfather, who raised me for 30 years, also passed away. And just the other day on Tuesday, I had an aunt that passed away. And there's a reason why I'm telling you that, because I feel like when we bring ourselves to work, this is my work. I'm very passionate about advocating for healing-centered systems, and I'm advocating for people to be 100% human in their work. And I feel like it's important just to lead with who I am outside of any performance. And so who I am and how this work found me: I am Lindsay Raé Perry. I am a Midwest girl through and through. I literally am from Toledo, Ohio, born and raised. I lived in DC for about 7 years, and I now live in Charlotte, North Carolina with my amazing husband of 21 years. I know I don't look that old, but I've been with my husband for 21 years. We're high school sweethearts, and our beautiful, beautiful son, Sonny. I come from a long line of women who worked several jobs time and time again. And I'm going to go to the next slide. It's a little slow, but I wanted to show you the lineage and the legacy that shaped me. If you are to the left of your screen, you will see 6 beautiful women. The one in the middle with the big, bright, beautiful smile is my mother, Linda Holmes Ogburn, who is no longer with us. And the one next to her with the short hair is my Aunt Cynthia, who also just passed away and is no longer with us. But none of these ladies are actually with us anymore. They all passed away within the past 12 years. And these women raised me. And they were very, very extremely hard-working women. And I watched them work 2 to 3 jobs at a time. I watched them endure abuse, whether it be at home and also in their workplaces. I watched these women, these beautiful Black women, navigate this country and the systems of this country and be dealt hands that were extremely hard, cards that were extremely hard to play. And at the end of the day, they were able to pour love and wisdom and kindness and instill in me not just work ethic, but worth ethic, that I am worthy of much more than settling in this life. And that if they didn't get the beautiful ending that they wanted, that they made sure that the sacrifices they made would not go in vain. And so that is why I kept this engagement today, because of the sacrifices that they made and the labor of love that they sacrificed for me and all of my other beautiful cousins. I'm an only child, so I have a lot of cousins, but yeah, they sacrificed for all of us. To the right of your screen, you will see the legacy that shapes me and that I continue to build, which is my beautiful husband, Sydney, of 21 years, and our amazing son, Sydney Jr., who we affectionately call Sonny. And the goal of that is to show that this is my foundation, and this is what I'm building through that foundation. And not only how did this work find me through the lineage of watching other women, but I've had my own experiences with abuse, whether it be childhood abuse, but also workplace abuse. And what pushed me to come to the form of understanding apathy as being armor and apathy as being wisdom is my own bouts with living in a performative or performance-driven society and culture where we push, from age kindergarten all the way up until however you want to go in academia. And then when I moved to Washington, D.C. and worked in communications and politics where it's consistently nonstop, and you're consistently asked to perform and live in an inauthentic way, saying yes when you really mean no, not dealing with the childhood trauma that you may have already, and getting pushed to your limits when you're at work and you're dealing with microaggressions and you're dealing with isolation and you're dealing with mob mentalities and you're dealing with people ganging up on you. You're dealing with the gaslighting, or you have some form of a narcissistic, sociopathic boss. I've dealt with all of that. And it got to the point where I want to say in about 2016, I was living in DC. I thought I was living the life. I literally was traveling. I was getting picked up by those, before Uber Black, I was getting picked up by the black car, the black Escalades or the Suburbans, and taking me from one destination to another newsroom, to a meeting, to one of on the hill. It was that kind of life, right? It looked on the surface, it looked great. On Instagram, it looked absolutely fun. And though there was some fulfillment in that work, because I was actually moving, I'm a mover, I like to move, it was completely inauthentic to what I felt I was supposed to be doing. And it got to the point where I could no longer survive like that. I could no longer be in systems and find myself in environments that I would go to work and be the only Black woman in the room and my ideas be shut down. And I would think that something was wrong with me. I would think that, am I not smart enough? Am I not good enough? But the ideas would get pushed through. I just wouldn't get the credit for it, right? Or if something goes wrong in the office, being the scapegoat, and it's always your fault. Or having extreme passions and that being called temperament. I understood what it was like to experience racism on a very cunning level in the workplace and in corporate America. And when I decided to leave corporate America and become an entrepreneur, I still experienced it when I had clients. And in 2016, I remember leaving every single night. I would do a Sirius XM radio show, or I would be on RT News. I would be somewhere. I would come home and I would get a glass of wine, because that's what we do to cope when we're dealing with stressful days. Some of us, not all of us, I don't want to assume, but I would go and get a glass of wine and I would stand at the top of my high rise and I would contemplate whether or not anyone would care if I jumped, because my life was so hectic and I had become everything that everybody needed around me. Whether it was my friends who had a crisis that I needed to a fire that I needed to put out, whether it was work that had a fire that I needed to put out, whether it was pressures at home in my marriage, or everything just coming to a screeching halt. And it got to the point where I ended up collapsing. I did not jump. I contemplated with suicidal ideations for a long time. I would be told that I couldn't speak right or I couldn't write right. And I remember crying myself in they're sitting with a glass of wine or a bottle of wine in the shower and letting the water just hit me until my husband would get me out of the shower and get me on the bed and let me know that, like, you can live another day and keep going. And it got to the point where I actually crashed. I literally fainted and I had a psychogenic blackout in the middle of the street in Crystal City in Arlington, Virginia, where the ambulance came to pick up my body from the pavement. And when I finally awakened, they asked me where I lived, and I gave them my childhood address in Toledo, Ohio. I had no understanding of who I was, where I was, what I was doing, where I worked. And I thank God nobody really, really, really knew me at the time, because it was one of those fall from grace moments. And it was at that moment where I went on a journey from 2016 until now to really figure out who I am and why I was created and why was I born. And I believe that I watched the women in my world work themselves to death, literally, never be able to fully enjoy their life. Some of them did, but never really be able to fully enjoy their lives. Those who show up in a performative way, who go where they have to fake the smiles, I lived that. And I no longer wanted to live that anymore. And so as we come into this day, and I know I shared a lot of heavy things with you all, before we really get started into the meat and potatoes of what I believe apathy is, I want us to take a moment to breathe and set our intentions. And so if you would join me with this breathing exercise, I'm going to start us off with 3 breaths. We're going to hold for 3 seconds and release for 3 seconds. If you have any pre-existing health conditions, or that's not something that you can do, try the best you can, or just try to enjoy the stillness and the silence, but whatever works for you. And so right now we're going to inhale all of the stress of the day. We're going to inhale peace. We're going to inhale perspective. We're going to hold for 3 seconds. And we're going to let out the stress of whatever was going on today, whatever happened at work, whatever happened at that job, whatever happened with those people, whatever happened at home. We're going to let that go. And next, we're going to inhale contentment. Hold for 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to exhale any anxieties, pressures of this world, anything that you've seen on the news, anything that ruffles your feathers. And next, we're going to inhale clarity. We're going to hold for 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3. And we're going to exhale confusion, anything that may be blocking our heart space from receiving tonight. And so the reason why I do a breathing exercise is because it's the first evidence we have of creative life. Breath. If you were ever watched ER or ever had anyone in the hospital who may have been on a ventilator, you know that the breath is very much connected to brain activity and our ability to create. And so I want us to set our intentions today on what we want to receive. I want you to let that be your anchor. And not only what you want to receive, but what you want to create from this moment forward. Write it on a piece of paper, or just put it in put it in a little file in your mind and set it to the side. And we can begin. So after, we spoke about the workplace abuse that I've experienced in my life, or the many instances of the people that I've come across, the environments that I've been in. When I finally decided to get out of what I would call the circus of my life, the inauthenticity of my life, and get out of abusive and toxic environments, there's a silence that happens after that harm. And that silence, it's not necessarily peaceful, but it tells us, like, I can't keep doing this. Like, I can't keep going from abusive workplace to abusive workplace. I can't keep experiencing this. That certainly there is more out there for me. And the silence can say many things. It can say, what is wrong with you? What's wrong with me? What did I do? How did I get here? And I think the most important thing that needs to happen after you've experienced any form of abuse in your workplace or in any other environment is that you need to assess where you are.